Overwatch is probably the multiplayer game I come back to the most. I've been playing pretty much daily since they rebranded from Overwatch 2 back into Overwatch a few months ago. Before that, I had played the first 5 or 6 seasons of Overwatch 2, and before that, I was in high school playing Overwatch a year or so after it was released. I first played it when it was on free play days on Xbox, and I was hooked. I bought it as soon as the weekend ended. But do you know who was there for me before all of that? The trailer park. Paladins was the perfect game if you wanted to play a hero shooter on console, but couldn't afford Overwatch. Now, did Paladins take some ideas from Overwatch? I mean, yeah, some of this stuff is just really blatant. But let's not pretend like everything in Overwatch is unique and new. Paladins had its niche because it was free to play. As long as there were people like me who couldn't afford games, there was always an audience for Paladins. Until Overwatch put a bullet in its head. Hi-Rez, the studio behind Paladins, announced in 2025 that the game would stop getting updates, and then they laid off a whole bunch of staff. You can still play the game, but it's a bit of a graveyard. It's a shame because there's actually some pretty cool concept of characters and abilities that other hero shooters, including Overwatch, could use. So today, I'm going to go through some of the roster to spotlight some of these concepts and show my appreciation to the game that had my back before Overwatch. If this video sounds interesting to you or you find yourself enjoying it, consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing too. I don't know why I said like an e-boy. I'm not... What the fuck? I'm not going to say that again. If this video sounds interesting to you or you find yourself enjoying it, consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing too. If you like videos talking about different games, I'll have a playlist in the description where I go over different topics. With all that being said, let's go through some heroes. When going through these abilities, my original thought was just to go character by character and highlight different abilities from them that I liked. But in practice, there were characters who didn't really have any abilities that I thought were interesting. Now, Paladins is a game with a lot of characters. There are some abilities and some characters that you might find interesting that I didn't. And if you have any examples, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to see what you think. But as I was narrowing the list of abilities down, I found that it was a lot easier to put them into one of 3 different categories. Now, these aren't like 100% this is exactly how they should be implemented in Overwatch, but it's kind of just my rough draft idea of where I would put them if I was in charge of adding these to Overwatch. The first category I have is abilities for new characters. It's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, a character who's not been revealed or is not currently in the game, I feel is a lot harder to talk about because I'm not the type of person who will just create character concepts. So when I talk about some of these abilities, keep in mind that it's just like they're into the void. Somebody can take them. I don't have any specific ideas for any of these. My next category was abilities that could be used for perks of already existing heroes. I thought that some of these abilities would be an interesting way to change up some of the gameplay for some of these characters. And while they're not perfect, I do think that perks are something that you can have a little bit of fun with from time to time, and I do think that these would be useful on their heroes. And the last category is abilities for Stadium / other game modes that they may make. April Fool's event comes into mind. Something that realistically probably wouldn't be in the game otherwise, but because we have Stadium, a mode where everything can be OP, or because we have a mode like the April Fool's mode where Overwatch devs are just trying new things that they could possibly put on new characters, it'd be really interesting to see some of these incorporated into the big OP game mode. I think the best place for me to start would be abilities for new characters. The first character I want to talk about is Lex. Lex is a character that I tried maining back when I was first playing Paladins. I thought he had a really cool kit, and looking back, you could see how some of his abilities would be able to combo into each other, and I think I feel like he'd be really fun to use. In practice, though, my aim was atrocious. It just was not happening. I was not good with most damage characters, But he has a couple of abilities that I think are kind of cool. His slide ability, obviously, that's in Overwatch. Sojourn has it, and honestly, it's better because it's faster and then you can jump off of it. Like, I just think that they may have stolen from Paladins, but I think Overwatch did it a little bit better. But the ability that I want to talk about here is In Pursuit, which I almost consider not even putting this on the list. When you use the ability, you are put into a lock-on stance where you are able to shoot the enemy that is closest to you. Or I think if you're also around multiple enemies, it'll shoot multiple enemies. And not just like locks on at like close range or like you have to be like really close. I was in the practice range for this ability. I was able to get locked on shots of somebody from 100. They use units. They don't use meters or they don't use units of measurement. They just say units. So I did it from 100 units away, 100 range, and he was still like locking onto the character and still getting damage. Obviously, there was a fall off of the damage, which thank goodness, because I can't imagine it staying consistent all the way through. But even then, it's still doing like less than a third of your health, which is why I said that it combos really well with his other abilities, especially his ult. His ult is a big kill button, which is I think is how you could describe a lot of ults from Paladins. But it's a big button where if you are at full health, it does a big chunk of damage. If you are at 66 health or below, it insta-kills you. And so obviously it's a little aim dependent, but I also feel like it's kind of easy to get somebody down to 2/3 health. Obviously, you won't be getting the big multi-man kill every time, but I feel like you should be able to still get a good pick off with Lex's ult every single time, no matter your skill level at him. And I think that's where the idea of In Pursuit being in Overwatch kind of is like, man, you would have to change a lot of this ability to make it not busted. I think even with a lot of damage nerfs, it could still be very OP, especially considering it's also not a skill shot. You just have to be you just have to be around somebody and it'll do damage for you. And it's not even like an ult, like that just feels crazy to me. I decided to include it in the end anyway. It's an ability that I feel would be good for some new players who are learning the game, but at what point does that become something that is easily exploited to new players and to players who have been playing for a bit? It's like, oh great, no matter how good I am, this auto aim that can just lock onto me whenever is pow 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 and I'm half health now. Makoa was actually my first main in Paladins. Like I said, I was not good at damage, and I didn't really care to play support, so I was kind of the default tank in the group, and I was fine with that. I think it definitely helped hone my tank playstyle that I do in Overwatch now. It helped me get used to the fact that I have a lot of health. I can take more hits than other people can, and being okay with the idea of shielding, of like body blocking and taking hits for people. But Makoa has a few abilities that I like. He has like a blatant ripoff of Roadhog's hook. It's a lot less strong because there's no kill potential from just that hook. There's no combo that you could use like Roadhog. Like the damage that you would do with Makoa's hook plus his primary fire, relatively, it's like not even in the same ballpark as the damage you would do with Roadhog and his primary fire. Like that will just put you at 1 health. And his other ability, he has a movement ability, which I think like all the characters in this game have some sort of movement ability. I mean, I feel like it's the same with Overwatch, but like this is to a point where it just plays like a little cutscene for doing the same thing. Maldamba, another character I'm going to talk about later, has this just like big snake move forward very fast, and it feels like it accomplishes the same thing as Makoa's like shell spin. The ability that I'm actually going to be talking about for Makoa will be his shell shield. At first, when I was doing the initial research for this video, I was like, man, why is this not in Overwatch? I feel like this would be like a really good ability to use in Overwatch. Upon further playtesting and practice of the shell shield, I think in its current state, if it was just ported over to Overwatch, I think it'd be very underpowered. First off, let's just get into what it is. It's basically a moving Winston bubble. When you press it, you go on all fours as Makoa, and you have a shield form around you. While you are moving, the shield can also move with you. So you can use it for a number of different things. You can use it to help push your team in, get a shield all around them, help them push into the point, or you can use it as an escape measure for you or for a teammate. I think it's very useful in those ways, and that's why at first I was like, wow, this could be really good. There are a couple of big glaring problems with this. Number one, because Makoa is on all fours walking on the ground, he has no other limbs to attack with. He can't attack, he can't really do much of anything except walk forward, backward, left, or right. The other issue that I found is that he seemingly has no damage reduction. I think that if you are on all fours having your big ass shell protecting you, there should be a little bit of damage reduction. Maybe there is and I just didn't notice it because it was so minute or whatever, but this ability is begging for a damage reduction buff, like 10-15%. Maybe that'd make it OP, I don't know, but it feels logical that if you are shooting at a shell, even if it's inside the main shield, like, that still should not be doing all of the damage. It even gets to a point because in this game there are, I'm gonna call them perks, they're called something else, they're kind of sort of perks, so I'm just gonna call them perks. You get to pick between 3 of them at the beginning of the game. One of Makoa's perks is that he can just place the shield down like a Winston bubble, and the shield has more health, and he can be able to move and damage after setting it down, which is just like a Winston bubble, but it's like, it's much better than his normal ability. You can hide in your shield, you can use your hook, or it's like an anchor in the game, to hook your enemies, bring them over to where your shield is. Your enemy's not going to be able to do much to you, but you are going to be able to basically kill them. Like, it's a very good way of, like, isolating an enemy. They can't get any healing. Somebody would have to use a movement ability to be able to help save them. So while I think the shell shield would be nice, and I think it'd be fun to have in the game, I don't know, some kind of turtle-based, I don't know. Look, I said I'm not creative. I'm not going to even try. I think the ability would be fun, but you would really need to work it to, like, have there be a reason that people pick this character. Because if you just brought Makoa into Overwatch and gave him that ability, like, he'd get rolled over immediately. The last ability I want to talk about comes from Pip, who is, I don't know. I didn't like him when I first started playing the game. I don't like the way he looks. And he also has a gender-bent version of him that gives him, like, a huge pair of tits. For whatever that's worth, I guess. Enough about Pip's titties, though. I want to talk about Pip's ult, which is iconic? I guess? Relevant. I don't know what really word to use here. Anyway, it basically made the mascot for Hi-Rez's Battle Royale, Realm Royale, because Pip is able to turn his opponents into chickens. Yeah, for some reason, I think it's very interesting. I think it's a very interesting concept. I kind of like how the chickens are used in Realm Royale. Sorry to go on a little sidebar here, but I do think it's a little bit interesting. Realm Royale had this ability where if you were downed in Fortnite, like at the time, you kind of couldn't do much. You really couldn't do much moving away. Like, you kind of just had to hide and hope that you were not found or that a teammate revived you. Realm Royale had their own version where you turned into a chicken and you could run away from your opponent, and after a certain amount of time, if they didn't kill you, you got to turn back into the player. I just think that's really interesting. I just think that's really funny that Pip's ultimate became the poster child for the chickens. I mean, I think you could buy, like, chicken skins. But I guess that's enough about my little obsession with Realm Royale. When Pip uses his ability, he shoots out a potion, and if you are hit with the potion, you become a chicken, which basically works the same way that it does in Realm Royale. You take a big reduction to your base health. You can't use any abilities, no movement abilities, no primary fires, no secondary fires, nothing. All you can do is run away and hope you don't get run down. Now, I can't tell you exactly how I was feeling when I would get hit with this ult back when I was playing Paladins. I have to imagine that the answer is not very good. This is a really annoying ability. It's one thing for an ability to restrict movement. It's another thing for an ability to restrict using your abilities. It's another thing completely when it's both of them. I can't really think of many abilities that completely restrict everything. The only thing that comes to mind is Hook. And I feel like this is, thinking about it now, maybe not worse than Hook, but definitely on the same level of Hook, where you are still alive, technically, but all you can do is walk away, and it's not like you get that big of a movement buff, so you can't really rely on that to save you as well. It's terrible in any situation. I mean, if you're in a big team fight, obviously you're down a member even without them dying. If it's a support, boom, you can kind of run down everybody. If it's a tank, you can go into backlines. It's like a one-size-fits-all that can literally affect everybody in the entire game. I think if this ability was added to Overwatch, it would have to get nerfed a little bit, right? The first thing that I'm thinking of is the health pool. Like I said earlier, when you get hit with the chicken bomb, your HP goes down. Like, not health pool going down like from your max health. No, your HP bar like cuts in half basically. I don't think that would be the best idea for a game like Overwatch. The health pools are a lot smaller than Paladins, and I don't think the movement speed is good enough to warrant players trying to run away at 100 health without any ways to defend themselves. But I think on the other hand, I would be fine with the HP pools if they buffed the speed a lot more, make it a little bit easier to get out of a situation. But I think I would just prefer the HP pools to stay the same. So if you're a 250 health hero, you stay at 250 health, or, you know, however much health you had out of your max health. I don't think your max health should go down at all. And it's like, is there really much else that you can change without drastically changing how the ult is? I think that if it was added to Overwatch, it would be well liked, and I definitely do think it would take a lot of working around it and a lot of nerfing to make it fun in Overwatch, but I also think that's why it should be on a completely new character, because I think there should be somebody who introduces this mechanic. Moving on to the abilities that I think would be useful as perks. The first one I'm going to talk about is from Maldamba. Told you I was going to get back to him later. Now, he has a lot of interesting abilities, and honestly, I probably should have just used one of them, but I decided to use one that's just more generic. Well, not in Maldamba's case. Maldamba's primary fire is a venomous snake. He shoots the snake, and venom comes out of him, and it does damage. And yeah, it's a primary fire. Like, we know what this thing usually does. The interesting part about it, though, is its reload animation. After the reload animation is done, Maldamba's snake jumps onto the enemy, and it deals a little bit of damage. And I think it slows them down, too, but I am sure that it deals a little bit of damage. That part is interesting, and it makes me wonder why we don't really have an ability like that, where it's just like a character reloads and then there's something else that does damage. I guess there's not really a lot of guns or a lot of weapons that would really do anything like that. There weren't any specific characters that came into mind when I was thinking of this idea. One that I'm thinking just off the cuff right now is Reaper's shotguns. You can throw them, maybe give them a little bit more range, and it can do damage. I don't know, this is kind of more of a joke than anything else. I really don't know why I included this. I wrote in my notes, could be added to multiple heroes, and just never listed out any heroes that I could work with. So just picture like somebody reloading their weapon, and then after, I don't know, the reload fails, they throw a fucking gun at you. Sorry, my bad. The other ability in this category I think is actually a lot better, and it actually originally wasn't even going to be in the video. It was going to be another ability from the same character. Shaolin is, I don't want to say basically the Hanzo clone, but like bow and arrow. There's a few things that they do differently, but like the concept was still there. I still think he has a couple of abilities that could be really cool to insert onto Hanzo. The honorable mention I wanted to shout out is his ultimate ability, Heat Haze. He goes invisible, and he is only visible when he shoots his arrow, and the arrow does increase damage. The concept of Hanzo becoming invisible, while it would be very funny, and I think it would be very neat, in reality would probably make him really OP and really difficult to play into, and really annoying to play into as well. People shit on Sombra for her ability to go invisible. I feel like it really would not be much different with Hanzo. So that's why it ultimately did not get more time in the spotlight. The ability I do want to talk about is an ability that maybe is a little less, just a little bit less OP than the concept of Hanzo going invisible. It is his rapid fire, which Hanzo has this ability where he can shoot multiple arrows in a short span of time. Shaolin has his own take on that. You don't have to press the button to shoot the arrow. It kind of just does it on its own. Your only skill that you need to use is your ability to aim. I just think it would be very useful for people who are playing Hanzo the first time. Obviously, I think the damage would have to be nerfed, like even more so than his usual ability, because there has to be some kind of caveat. Because I feel like aiming isn't... Once you get a hold of the aiming, then it's like about the timing of the shots. And because you're just completely taking one of those factors out of the equation, there should be some kind of nerf. I do think that it would be fun for newer players who haven't really gotten it down yet. But you know, Overwatch isn't just for new players. I think it'd be fun, mostly because I suck as Hanzo. Now we're on to the abilities for Stadium / April Fool / whatever game mode. I think I just had the most fun thinking of these. In a game mode like Stadium where everything can just be wacky, why not add a little bit more wackiness? First character I want to talk about, my favorite character in the game, not from a gameplay sense, not from anything like that, God no, but he's just so fun. He's like my favorite character design. We're talking about Bomb King, my guy. He was the first character that I bought in Paladins. I suck as him. I'm not good with him, but I just love the way he looks. But instead of like going through any of his main abilities, I'm just going to talk about his primary fire because I think that it's probably the most interesting part about his kit. Yeah, he has sticky grenades. I think like they stick onto you for a few seconds and then they will fall off. I think that's a really good balancing thing to do with that. The bombs don't go off immediately. You set it off with another set off button, so they could be on a delay. You could potentially have it like set out as a little minefield, and when enemies come by, you can detonate them. I don't think that's the best use of the ability, but it's just an idea. I think it would be an interesting Stadium ability for Junkrat to have. He already has the mines, so he could, you can make it shoot out sticky mines, or you can find a way to make the grenades sticky. I'm sure that won't be too difficult. Then nerf the damage, or don't nerf the damage, because you can add on to your health in Stadium. I just think that it's already kind of funny. I do see this being more of an April Fool's mode rather than Stadium itself, because I think that would just be... I think it would be a little clunky for Stadium, especially people who are used to Junkrat's gameplay. They have to press another button to detonate explosives that are already out in the open. Like, I get how that would feel a little weird to do, but we gotta shout out Bomb King in some way, shape, or form. I feel like this is probably the best way to do it. And now we're talking about Lex again, because he has an ability that I think would be useful on most characters in Stadium. In between rounds, you are able to buy those perks or buy those abilities for your character. You know what other game has the ability to earn credits and buy abilities throughout the game? It's the game I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, I don't know why it would be anything else. Lex's Retribution is an ability that I think would work on everybody, because it's tied to the bounty system. Basically, when you press Retribution, it will give you a character that is on a higher kill streak, and if you eliminate that character, you get extra money along with the money that you earned by killing them. I know that there are bounties in Overwatch, so would it make the ability kind of redundant? Maybe a little bit redundant, but like, what's a little bit of extra money? Like, are you really gonna say no to a little bit of extra money? And it could also be binded to a button or a key. Like, I feel like it won't be the worst thing ever, but if you really do want to limit it to one hero, I would limit it to Freya, because she's a bounty hunter. Might as well be a little bit on lore. I think it'd be fun. But it gives you a reason to go for other characters that are not the highest bounty. Obviously, if you're playing Overwatch, an objective-based game, you're more focused on like getting the kills rather than going for the highest kill streak person. You get a reward for going for the highest kill streak. So why would you not want to take that person out first? If you have an ability like Retribution, where maybe you can get another character on their team and you can get a little bit of extra money that nobody else can get from killing this person. The last ability in this category belongs to Terminus. I like Terminus. I think he's cool or whatever. I don't really care for his abilities. I just like the way he looks and I like his voice. But besides that, like, everything else is fine except for his ultimate. Now, from the outside looking in, it would seem like your only ultimate being a revive. I feel like that'd be a little bit easy to play around, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that if that's the only threat that you have, like, you can't even use any other ults, you become a little bit more predictable. I don't think there's a problem with being more predictable as long as you're better, but, you know, being more predictable gives you less chance of being better. The thing about Terminus's ult isn't the fact that it revives, it's the fact of how much damage it does to players that are around Terminus during the ult. It's an insane amount of damage. If you're close enough, it nukes you. It's like a diva bomb, basically. So why not incorporate something like that into Onron if/when they put her in Stadium? I think it'd be kind of a fun ability. Obviously, you would have to nerf it because it's like, okay, a revive like one shot. Like I think the cast time would have to be a little bit longer. You would also have to nerf it by having that be her only ability. But you can like maybe upgrade its range, and upgrade like the damage that it does over range. I just think that the idea of having a big fucking nuke is really fun. And it makes me wonder if the damage of an ult like that would be good enough to offset its predictability in a game like Overwatch. Because right now, all Onron's ability does is burn. And that's cool. You know, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But it, like, let's make it a big bomb. I think that'd be really fun. And that's about all I have today. I was originally going to include some characters that I thought would fit well into Overwatch, but the video was running a little bit longer than expected. Let me know if you'd be interested in a follow-up video where I go over these characters. Is there any ability I missed? I mean, yeah, more than likely. There's a whole bunch of characters in this game. But let me know in the comments if you have a specific example. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more gaming videos. With all that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you have yourself a good one.